Going to give you a little rundown of everything that we're going to be needing if you've not seen or used it already. So the adjustable dumbbell and barbell sets are relatively simple. It's all kind of just a spin lock set, so it's just like a thread, like a nut and bolt. So this is one of the dumbbell handles. So dumbbells are the shorter ones. You would just put a plate onto the end like that, and then it's got these little end caps that you then would just thread on. Nice and simple. I'm not going to do it all the way just for sake of saving time. So that's how you would set up a dumbbell. Obviously put the plates on both ends. If you want to use it as a barbell, then this actually incorporates a central piece. So you would thread them all together like that. You'd wind that one in. Do the same on this side. Like that. Obviously, you'd wind it in all the way. Put the plates on either end. You've also got this other central piece like that. This one's a tiny bit longer. They can both be used. This one can work quite nicely for Zerchers. If you're a little bit narrower, for me, this is too narrow, so my arms would be crushed in a little bit like that. Also, if you're doing any movements like a curl later down the line, sometimes having your wrists at that slight angle opposed to trying to be all the way extended like that, that can be a bit strenuous. So it's another useful attachment, and it works exactly the same way. You just thread it in. They've both got a bit of padding on there, which personally I actually don't like, but you can't win them all. Then we've got this, which is just a single loading pin. So this is when we want to use it as a kettlebell. So you would just put your plates on as you would normally. You maybe grab a few plates. Then you've also got these little stoppers, which are kind of the same as this, but the thread seems to be a little bit tougher. So I would wind one down a little bit like that. Then you actually are able to use the kettlebell handle, and you can kind of like lock them off on each other like that. So you can do your kettlebell swings. You may, depending on what you're doing, you might want to put another one down there to stop it lifting up. But a lot of the kettlebell movements you're going to do, they're hanging down anyway, so it's probably not essential, but you can kind of make that call. As long as everything's threaded on safely and you can feel that it's nice and firm, that's it. It's very, very simple and straightforward. This set actually comes with two of these, but only one loading pin. It's not so you use two kettlebells, it's so that you can use these as press-up handles if you do need to. Again, not something that we utilise lots, but it's, I suppose, useful to have it there. The last use is actually this bit here, and all it is just to do ab rollouts. So it just slides off like that. You can then slide one of the plates onto it like that, and then you can just use it for ab rollouts. Personally, not much of a fan of it. It seems a little bit flimsy and not the best for the purpose, but it's there as a backup. We don't often have carers doing ab rollouts anytime soon because they're really hard. But it doesn't mean that we wouldn't in the future. But by that point, it probably is better to actually just buy a dedicated ab roller. They're like £8 or something, and they're not going to rattle around. Obviously, this is just for us to kind of get the ball rolling, and this could last you years and years and years. To be honest, it could do you forever, assuming you don't break anything. But I think it's probably the best multi-use that we're actually able to get. And the other part of it, I've made a mess here. The other part of it is in this little bag here, and it is related to these bands. So empty it out there. It comes with two little handles, and also this is like an anchor. This is what we would normally use as an anchor. So self-explanatory about the bands. The thicker the band, the heavier it feels. It's pretty rare that we're going to be using the green. The yellow, the red, and the black are going to get a lot of use, and purple maybe later down the line. The smaller the muscle groups, So generally upper body, you're going to use the lighter ones, and then lower body, you may use the medium, potentially eventually heavy ones. So how does the anchor work? So there's a little carabiner on the end here, which you can latch onto this little D hook there. Just like, oh, if I can do it, just like that. What you'd want to do is actually have a resistance band in there. So you're going to loop it through like that and latch it on. And you'll see it's got like a bit of neoprene webbing in there. And that's because these bands over time, you know, if they're rubbing against something that's hard, it's gonna start to damage and fray the band. So that's to protect the longevity of the band. And then you've got this big chunky foam block. So really good idea, but also takes a little bit of practice. So what you want to do, for example, I'm going to just open this door a little bit, and then I'm going to hook this over the top like that, and shut the door. Make sure it is shut completely. If it's not, it's going to swing open and hit you in the face. So do so at your own risk. Just make sure it's shut properly, or if you really want to, put like a little door wedge or something in the bottom. Now we've created an anchor point. Now we've created an anchor point that is nice and secure, and because it's on a door, you can get something high, medium, low. You've got a load of different options. The tricky bit with doing it side on is actually getting it in while you, oh, the cat's trying to get out, just getting it side on without it kind of like falling out. I tend to do this where I'll give it a little swing out and then trying to shut it in like that. Right, the door is definitely shut, and there you go, nice and safe and secure. If you've got one of those little door wedges though, it definitely wouldn't hurt just to put something extra in there, just depending on how solid the you know, the locking mechanism on the door is. I think I've covered everything. Oh, I suppose the handles. I personally don't care to use them that often. When I'm using a band, I'll just grab hold of the band. I don't necessarily think you need to do much more than that. If I was doing like a two-handed movement, I might hold it like this. But same principle applies with the little carabiner and the D-hook. So you could, if you felt the need, just latch them in like so, and then now you've got a nice nice handle, which does feel a little bit better, to be honest. But is it worth the extra work? Arguable. Right, hope that makes sense. Just drop us a WhatsApp if you need me to explain anything better or more, or if your kit is slightly different, because you know what Amazon's like, they change stuff all the time without telling anybody. So yeah, let us know.